going? Are we going? Are we going? Hey guys, how you doing? 3, 2, 1. TikTok's going. Live stream's going. Here we are. Here we are now. Entertain us. And here I am with my little dog. My little puggy boy. Aren't you the sweetest little guy? Yeah, you want to come say hello to everybody? You want to come say hello? Huh? You could come say hello to everybody on TikTok. Everybody on TikTok's going to love you. Yeah? But I bet you if I make you do it, you're going to growl at me. Right? You're going to growl at me. Yeah? Yeah? Do you want to come say hello to all the good people on TikTok and YouTube? Hey, Anemone. Hey, Sigma. How you doing, guys? How you doing? Good to see you. For those on TikTok who can't see it, right? The biggest lie in human history is that capitalism is good. Ooh. Ugh. Take a look around you. It's 100 degrees in the Arctic. 26 billionaires hoard half the world's wealth. Entire species of animals are being wiped out. Capitalism is fucking evil. It is killing us and our planet too. Yep. Good evening, fellow beautiful people. Good evening to you, Demand Better. How you doing today? Hope you guys are all doing really well today. I had a really calm and easy day, you know? Like, it's one of these things where if you get more than just the 2 days off in a row, by the time you hit the third day, you're like, well, what am I doing with myself? What am I doing with myself? I have no idea what I'm doing. And so, you know, clean up the place. You make sure that you know what you're doing. You live your life a little bit, right? You live your life a little bit. And oh, come on, buddy. Your eye is so fucking gross. There you go. There you go, my little guy. My little floofer. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That's why the biggest reason why the capitalists don't want us to have any time off is because if we get a little bit of time off, you saw this over the pandemic, right? If we get even a little bit of time off, we put together very quickly that what we're doing is shitty, right? What we're doing is shitty. Like it's shitty to live this existence. It's shitty to be living in capitalism and to go to places you hate, right? That's the whole struggle that's happening with the work from home movement, right? There's people who are just like, I want to work from home, right? And of course the capitalists, it's dawning on them that, oh, working from home is actually a disaster for capitalism, right? Because if people realize that they can live like a life and they can actually have a life outside of capital, right, then it'll be a total disaster for the death cult. Because it's only a stone's throw away from, why do we need these guys? Like, and really, why do we need these guys? Like, that's the question to really ask, right? Why do we need these guys? What are they actually achieving? What are they actually doing? What are they making happen for us? How are they improving our lives? And the answer is just baldly they're not, right? Just baldly they're not. They're making our lives more difficult. They're making things worse across the board, and it's going to be getting obvious, more and more obvious as time moves forward. Sigma says, my mom is debating getting us a hairless cat. John, what are your thoughts? I mean, if you are okay with having a little demon around, I guess you can go ahead with that. Hairless cat, eh? Like, they all look kind of weird. Yeah, cats are amazing animals. I'm not going to fight you on that one, but a hairless cat? I mean, I understand why people get hairless cats. There's all kinds of reasons, so. I would enjoy a hairless cat because they wear clothes. Oh, little sweaters. Oh, that's hard to say no to, Sigma. Honestly, it's hard to say no to that. That's true. If your plan is to put little clothes on them. Yeah, they look stupid, but them in sweaters. You know, Sigma, I feel like you've already sold yourself on this idea. You don't need my opinion. You want a little cat that you can put little clothes on. I could tell. Yeah, you don't need to convince me, bud. Demand Better writes, recently gamers have been complaining that a pro-colonialism game called Victoria 3 inadvertently demonstrates that communist economies, either state-run or worker-owned, work better than capitalists. Yes, I've been reporting on that last couple of days, Demand Better. It's hilarious, right? Because, yeah, obviously communist economies work better, right? Oh, you mean if the people in the society have access to the currency and have access to resources, the economy works better? Like, I really do think that we're going to look back on this neoliberal period and like, the people who are arguing in favor of neoliberalism right? They weren't secret about it. It was all like, it's in the press, it's everywhere, right? And I just feel like we're gonna look back on the neoliberal period and listen to these guys and be like, how did anyone fall for this obvious, overt grift? Yeah, we'll just give all the money to the rich people. And then when we give all the money to the rich people will spend that money in the economy in ways that'll benefit me. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And simultaneously, like, the very people who are arguing that the neoliberals the rich people will spend their money in the economy, are simultaneously saying that the reason why we can't have a government is because they're untrustworthy. So, like, the secret to running a successful society isn't to have governmental systems that diffuse power. They're to concentrate power under a small group of people, and that will somehow lead to benefits for the society. They certainly won't spend it on like a Jeffrey Epstein pedophile rape island. Like, that certainly won't happen, right? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And like, I love that, like, all you have to do is say it out loud to really realize how fucking stupid it is. That, like, yeah, we're going to give all the money to, like, 50 people, and they're going to do something other than just hoard it. And that's going to somehow build, like, a better economy. It's so funny that, like, communists are the ones that are called utopian, right? Like, there is no more utopian, idealistic, ridiculous ideology than neoliberal capitalism. Just the idea that we'll literally let small handfuls of people have all the wealth, and that will somehow lead to the benefits of mankind. Like, a rising tide raises all boats, all this kind of bullshit, right? No, a rising tide doesn't raise all boats. A rising tide rises the yacht and wipes out all of the little rowboats. And that's assuming you have a boat in the first place, right? So it's just like absolutely fraudulent in every single fucking way you could possibly imagine. Looking to Z, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Yeah, those loser neckbeards needed to make mods to make ethno-states viable. I know, right? Isn't that great? Isn't it really great that, like, if you make a game like Heart of Iron, where, like, fascism is super overpowered, everybody's just like, yep, that's right. Yep. But if somebody makes a game and communism has any viability to it whatsoever, the internet just loses its mind. Isn't that interesting, right? It's almost as though we've been heavily propagandized to believe the inverse of the truth. It's almost as though if you take reality and try to put it into a system to show you the outcome of that reality, it's going to show you that communism is a better economic system, obviously. Let people have access to the fruits of their own labor, right? And what are people going to do? They're going to spend their money locally in the economy. Whereas if you give one person $100 billion, they're just going to offshore it and pay a guy to round up children to have sex with. Like, that's what they do. That's what they've done. So, like, I just don't know how we can, like, who's defending this system anymore? Like, who are the people? And there's only two types of people left, right? There's the straight up, just like, complete indoctrinated, deluded people who literally think that CIA propaganda is God's truth, right? And then there's just demons who are fine with raping children, right? Like Nazis and shit. Like, those are the two people who are left. And very steadily, and the vast majority of the people who are still defending capitalism are just deluded, right? They're just delusional losers, right? Like people who have lived in their parents' basement, who are going to inherit a house from their parents, who inherited a bunch of land from their parents, right? Like hereditary generational wealth holders, right? Are people who are still standing around being like, just get a job, just work harder. Like, as if all of us are getting just free shit handed to us from our parents, right? And I think that that's the majority, right? And very steadily, that's not going to be a tenable position. Like, it's going to get really, 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 really obvious as time moves forward and as wealth gets more and more concentrated. Because, like, the hereditary wealth holders, the kids that are going to get all of the wealth and all of this, are going to be surrounded by their peers in schools and all these places who are poor and desperate and shoved into these jobs. And they're just going to look at it and be like, well, shit, I got the golden ticket, obviously. Right? Like you got to be really dense at this point. Like you got to have like a Jordan Peterson level kind of density in your brain to actually believe that I ascended a meritocracy because I'm intelligent and it's competence. Yes, it's competence that's making everything better. Certainly not nepotism. Certainly not nepotism, right? I got where I am because my father was given a bunch of free land by the government. And I went to school for free, but I'm smart. So that's the reason I'm at the top of the meritocracy. Certainly not selling myself out to a bunch of billionaires to say that individualism is the way forward. Certainly not the way to deflect from the obvious collective project of extraction and abandonment that we're undergoing, right? It's obvious. Like, I feel like the things that I'm saying at this point, and maybe it's just because I keep saying it, like maybe it's because I'm saying it almost every single day, but for me it's just like gotten blisteringly obvious. And one of the things that I just notice is like the people who float in from like TikTok or something like this, right? The people who are floating in from all these sorts of places, right? To challenge me. Like they start at the dumbest position ever. And it's just like, I love it. The guys come in, say the dumbest shit ever, and then say like, debate me, bro, as if I'm interested in that. It's amazing to watch. Yeah, demand better, right? They weaken communists intentionally in every game I've played, yet they're often the best playstyle anyway. Well, I mean, like, oftentimes when you play a game, they don't really understand why communism was successful. That's the big thing that I think I've noticed. Like, I'll play some games and they'll like concede that like obviously communism had successes, but they don't know why. Right? They don't understand why. So they'll just give them like a banal, like, oh, you just get plus science, I guess. Because you guys did do science things, I suppose. Because like, and to be fair to like game designers and game developers, they're not also economists, right? They haven't also studied like these enormous economic systems. And living in the West, like, and if you did, right? If you did, you'd get suckered into this neoliberal, ridiculous capitalist nonsense, right? Like all of the all of the institutions that are teaching economics in the United States are teaching this overt fraud ideology, so fraudulent that even the business class understands that it's fraudulent because they erected an entire new system called business schools to actually hire people who know what they're doing, right? That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing that's happened in capitalism. That the wealthy business owners and the industrialists and the tech bros know for a fact, concretely, that the people who are coming out of economics departments are propagandists exclusively. They are exclusively propagandists. And they know it. How do we know? Because there's a thing called business school. And they're not hiring economists. They don't hire economists to be at their top level field. They go to and to run their businesses. They go to the business schools because those people know how to actually run businesses. And you just end up with a society where you have people who go through business school so they know how to run a company, but they don't have a meta perspective of anything. And then the people who are trained in that meta perspective are fucking moronic, illiterate neoliberals who literally don't understand how economics works from the get. Right? Like go onto YouTube and actually like watch that Harvard and Berkeley and Oxford and all these people, they put their economics courses online for you to look at. And it's crazy. They essentially teach you from the outset, like supply and demand. That's like the first thing they do. Here's supply, here's demand, here's a chart, here's all that kind of stuff. You don't actually read Smith. You don't actually read anybody, right? They just show you a chart and say, this is economics. And then everything past that is just them justifying their theory that falls apart the second it's implemented. Like, it's really fucking bananas, actually. Like, it's really fucking bananas. And I suspect that if you took one of these courses and you wrote an essay on in one of these classes about why their entire system of thought is fraudulent, because it obviously is, you just get an F, so you wouldn't succeed, right? Like, it's unbelievable what's happening in the United States right now. And and I just keep saying it over and over again, right? Like, it's going to take generations for the American university system to recover from this overt fraudulence they've committed on themselves, because the current brand of economists in the United States are illiterate, like just morons across the board, like people like Larry Summer, right? People in high level prominent positions, like economic advisors for the president of the United States, and then they've trained another group of just like completely detached losers who are doing everything they can to impoverish the society on behalf of a small handful of people, because that wealth will trickle back down. That wealth will trickle back down for sure, you guys. That wealth is trickling back down. You wait for it. They still, like, at least they've gotten to the point now where they're admitting that the wealth isn't trickling down. So they're looking at reality and being like, oh, the wealth didn't trickle down. Duh. Like we all knew it wouldn't. And, but they don't know what to do about it. And they don't care to know what to do about it. And in fact, anytime they implement any policy, it's just more trickle down shit. Right? It's just unbelievable living in the world today. My chat is literally talking about cats. I'm like literally bitching about neoliberal capital and how fucking ridiculous it is. My chat is literally just like, cats. Cats are hella lean. I don't know why I thought they'd be soft. Underneath that fur is rock hard muscles. If house cats were the size of average dogs, we wouldn't be able to keep them as pets. Chimpanzees are jacked. See a photo of one shaved. Yeah. Chat's super serious today. I can tell. This thing's blinking in and out. And I don't know why. It's fucking annoying. I'm going to see if I can change. Thoughts on Jimmy Dore? Jimmy Dore is super hit or miss, but he's trying his hard. He's trying his hardest. So that's my opinion. That's my opinion. It's going to trickle any moment now, John. You bet, Rusty. You bet. Then the miracle of the free market will be revealed. It just takes a couple of generations. Yeah, absolutely. I love to read liberal conservatives complaining about the terrible state of the world. All this happening under capitalism. Yeah, that's just it. Like, they have to, like, any success that happens in the world, they just say that's capitalism. And any failure that happens, they say, well, that's socialism. And that's it. There's no actual analysis, right? Like, it's just ideological nonsense that comes out of their mouths, right? They latch on to slogans like, we can invade, attack, and destroy a country, place sanctions on it, coup their government, and destroy their economy on purpose. But that's socialism. Like, that's literally how they think. That our actions are irrelevant, and we pay no mind to that whatsoever. But if and then if a communist country like China, for example, is successful, then that success is because of capitalism. Like, it's just trash brain at this point. It's just like overt, crazed trash brain, and they're not trying to be smart. And now I think they actually know. Like, I think that the people at the highest echelon of this system know that it's, like, if they ever believed that it would work, which I think the people at the highest level never believed it, they were just conning us, right? And because they know how gullible we are and how easy it is to con us, right? But if there was anybody at the top of it who actually believed it, I don't think they believe it anymore. I just think that they know they've got the money. And basically it's just, yeah, I got the money. What are you going to do? Get fucked. That's essentially their opinion. What are you going to do? You guys are still talking about chimpanzees. Chimps scare the hell out of me, dude. Yeah, they're half our size but 3 times stronger. And also, I've actually listened to somebody talking about getting into a physical altercation with chimpanzees, and it's not like fighting a person. Like, a chimp is literally like, yeah, you see this? This is a weapon that I will use immediately. If you try to punch out with your fist, or if you try to grab something, I'm going to bite you. Like, straight up. And it's not, and because I've noticed this with animals, right? And it's something that a human can do, but when humans do something, there's this like barrier or like there's something that you've got to penetrate through, where you got to like ease into the action, right? Animals don't really have that. When animals do stuff, they're like, I'm doing that, and that's what's happening. So if an orangutan or a chimp wants to grab your arm, he's not going to go like he's just going to be like, and it's going to be there, and because that's how it is for them. So yeah, chimps are terrifying. Chimps are terrifying. We're having a very chimp conversation in chat today. Very good. I hope you guys are all doing well out in the world. I hope you're all having a good one, right? Oh yeah, socialism is the devil's religion. Dude, there's a reason I don't look at TikTok, man. I've only got like 7 people in the TikTok right now, so I kind of like glanced over, but like, man alive. Sigma is writing, I read a story once about a chimpanzee tribe that broke in half and had like a war. I think it's called the Gobi Chimp War. Yeah, from 1974 to 1978. Yeah, I suspect that happens. Like we're not that much different from chimps. Like we like to think we are, but we're not really. Like we're basically just scared monkeys with guns. And like I think that we have the capacity and the capability as humans to be better, to overcome the kind of deluded, illusional survivalist thinking that infects our mind and our brain. The idea that I am here and I am important and I'm on a hero's journey, right? That you are your own movie, right? That kind of thinking. You're the main character in a story and everyone around you is an NPC. That kind of thinking. Like, we have the ability to get through that and get over that. And but we don't. That's the truth. Like, we just don't. It takes a lot of effort and focus and work to get to that point where you view yourself as part of something greater, and to understand and humble yourself to a point where you understand that you don't, the universe or creation doesn't exist for you, that you exist as part of creation, and that you're not you're not in a single player game. You're not the main character in a story, right? Like, that it's a multiplayer game, and that the people around you are made of the same energy that you're made of, right? And so you are them and they are you, and you're sharing this experience together, like by definition. Like, and none of what I said, by the way, I think is spiritual or any of that. That's literally what's happening, and we just ignore it. Like, we just ignore it. We just don't care to know that or pay attention to like the hard reality that everybody is everybody and everything is everything, and that we are all one energy, and we're all here to enjoy each other and to figure out what the fuck this is, and to create like a peaceful environment. Like, we are all temporal refugees. Like, none of us asked to be here. We're just spawned in, right? Like, that's just a fundamental truth, right? Anybody disagree with that? That we're all just, yeah. Sigma, welcome to my channel, dude. You want to talk chimps? This is talking chimps, bud. This is talking chimps. Because it's connected. It's all a connected loop. Like, that's the thing that I think people just, like, they want to live in this fucking, like, talking about cats and the weather and shit. And I gotta tell you, I'm not here for it. Like really. Like, I'm not here for it. It's not what I do. I don't really like it. Like, when I'm talking to people in everyday life and everyday environment and all of that kind of stuff, like when I'm engaging with people on a one-to-one basis and that's what they want to do, I go along with it because that's what they want to do, and that gives them solace and peace, and it gives them a little stability in their life to talk about the weather, to talk about their cat, right, to talk about things and all that kind of stuff. But truly, I want to be asking everyone, like, what do you think this place is? Like, why do you think we're here? Have you ever thought about the process of how we're here? Have you ever thought about the process of how we became, like, the dominant species? Have you ever thought about the process of how we attained sentience, or I'm not offended, Sigma. It's just who I am. I think that's just what I'm trying to get to you. Like, that's just who I am, right? And when I'm here, and in this space and in this environment where it's me talking, that's what's going to happen, right? So if you stick around for any length of time, that's what's going to happen. I think that's the landing point for me, Sigma. And I'm not offended. I'm not trying to go after you or anything, right? I just am always talking about the nature of existence and talking about the nature of reality is my number one thing that I love to talk about. I love to talk about, like, why the fuck are we here? What is this fucking place? What are we doing here? What is this? And it seems to me just an absolute obscenity. It seems to me absolutely obscene that we are randomly spawned into a universe and we're randomly spawned into a plane of existence, and we do anything other than try to make this place as excellent as it possibly can be. That we literally could create a heaven. We could make it so that when people spawn into this reality, they spawn into a place that's beautiful and brilliant and lovely and easy and full of nothing but love and understanding. And that we live our lives collectively together, right, for the temporal moment that we're actually here before we face our death, right? And we refuse to do it. And at this point, you have to call it just like a basic refusal. Like, we've got all the resources, we've got all the capability, we've got all of the ability to do it. We're just not. We're just not. Travis is coming in. Can we join audio? No, thank you. I appreciate that. Travis, can we cancel a whole insurance? I mean, insurance is a very odd thing that exists in our society. Like, it's sort of weird that there is insurance at all. Like, you have to buy insurance. The government tells you have to have it, but they don't provide it, right? One would assume that something like insurance should be built into the system of car ownership, right? Accidents are going to happen. It's just naturally built in. But it's been privatized, and so everybody needs to go do it. And so, of course, it's like 3 times the cost of what it should actually cost. Yeah, in my dreams, yeah. Like, I know that you're saying that to be dismissive, like, in my dreams, but yeah. Like, I think that things like imagination and dreams are valid. And we should probably pay more attention to them than we do. Like, there's entire fields, like Sigmund Freud's whole thing, and then Carl Jung, his whole thing was like, what are dreams? What are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? I think the dreams are fascinating in that way. Like, why these symbols? Why these things? Why are you seeing what you're seeing? What's the whole point of seeing what you're seeing? I Need Yetis, how you doing, bud? Compared to all humans that ever existed, we got a great spawn location / birth. Yep. 10% of all human beings that have ever existed are alive today. Yeah. I would think that, like, the thing that I keep thinking about is just stability. That we've done pretty well in terms of the technology side of things, but we're not doing very well in terms of stability, right? Yeah. Well, Sigma, sometimes it might seem like heaven, sometimes it might seem like hell. It sort of depends on where you are, right? Like, if you're living in China today, you're doing okay. If you lived in China 150 years ago, you would be living in a real shithole. Like, you'd be living in a real hellhole, right? John, did you talk about Elon being booed? I think you meant booed, not booked, but Elon being booed on Chappelle. I think I talked about that yesterday, but, like, yeah, get fucked. Get fucked, Elon. Right? Like, I think that what we're watching is Dave Chappelle just become absorbed into the system of capital. That's all I think we're seeing. And that, like, why would he ever put a man like Elon Musk on a stage ever? Right? Like, you think about someone like George Carlin, right? And George Carlin keeps coming about, and George Carlin keeps showing back up again. Because I think a younger generation is encountering George Carlin and realizing how ahead of all of this he was, and realizing how prescient he was, and that the things that he was saying are just as connected now as they were when he was alive, and just as accurate. And he would never like simp for Elon Musk the way that Chappelle is simping for him. Like, it's weird, actually. Like, it's a little weird watching Dave Chappelle simp for Elon Musk this way. Like, I'm just like, bro, like, like this guy's like your class enemy. Like, it's well, not really anymore for Chappelle. Like, I think Chappelle just attained a certain level of wealth, and he became the thing he always said he never wanted to be. Right? He like left the Chappelle show because he was like, I didn't want to be chained down, and I felt like I was going to get chained down. He said some really prescient things about the system of capital on his way out, but now he's like come back. He did these big Netflix specials. He made a whole bunch of money, and I think he's just become the thing that he hated, that he never wanted to be. And it's sort of sad, actually. Jeremy, how you doing, bud? Hope you're here to be beautiful. Thoughts on the CCP COVID protests? Normal. Every society has protests, dude. And the CCP COVID protests were small in scale. The government responded to them. People are still people, right? Just because they're communists doesn't mean they're robots. And they are doing the lockdowns, and it's been widely successful. And they've achieved the objectives that they're seeking out to achieve. But, you know, it comes at a cost for certain people. And I can see why people would protest. And I don't really... Like, I tend to view protest as natural and normal. That every society has protests, and it's a real learning moment for a society, right? That not only are you learning what do people really care about, like people really care about that, and they really care. They're willing to put themselves on the streets. They're willing to hold up signs. They're willing to have a target pointed at them, right? For that thing. So that people care about that, and you can't deny that. But also you learn how your government's going to respond to it, and how your institutions are going to respond to it. And so protests are normal, and I think when they held the protest, the government was their institutions were relatively sympathetic. And I don't know if they did any reforms or did anything to address it, but you know, you compare that protest to like the George Floyd protest, slightly different situation, or like the Freedom Convoy. That's more fair. That's a more fair comparison, right? Like the Freedom Convoy, I feel like could have been resolved so much easier than the way it was resolved. That the liberals didn't even attempt to talk to these guys. They literally called them Nazis, and then like 2 weeks later evoked the most draconian measures possible to like literally round some of them up and incarcerate them without trial, and then seize their bank accounts. Like, that's what happened. Like, that shit didn't happen in China. Travis, Canadian comedy, have you ever heard of Dr. Manhattan? Yep, Dr. Manhattan is from The Watchmen, Alan Moore's masterpiece that I feel like more people should read and more people should know. I feel like Watchmen is has been very influential. I think that if you watch something like The Boys today, you're going to see the influence of Watchmen pretty clearly, right? Because the question that Moore was always asking in Watchmen was what would superheroes actually look like if they really actually existed, and we distilled them of this sort of ideological like propaganda shit and actually looked at them for what they are. What would they be like? And I think Moore captured it by and large, and his view of a Superman-esque kind of superhero, right, in the figure of Dr. Manhattan. You know, just this sort of detached, aloof kind of a figure, captures what it means to, I think, have so much power that you are untouchable. I need Yetis. 1 in 10 chance to be born now and be living in the Western world. That makes up like 10 to 15, so it's a miracle being alive today in this world. Oh yes, life is a miracle. Oh and yes, of course, Bill Hicks. Yeah, Bill Hicks. He died too soon. They got him with a cancer gun, and I don't know. I don't actually believe that, but he did die of cancer, and it's It's interesting how all these leftist figures suddenly die of cancer. Yeah. I still find it funny how Elon named his son whatever that is. Yeah, XAE. Yeah. Like, I think that might be a rumor, though. I don't think he actually named his son that. Like, I'd need a confirmation on that. I don't think that actually happened. But anyway, it doesn't matter to me at all. It's just a weirdo thing. Conton, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Speaking of technology, I have something nice to say about America. Oh, well, you, Conton? You are going to say something nice about America? Hold the fucking phone. Hold on. I got to get a drink. Holy shit. American scientists have managed to do fusion power, where the output was more than what they put in energy-wise. They managed to do that. And we all know what's going to happen. The moment that becomes profitable, they'll privatize it and withhold it from us. We all know that's what's coming, bud. We all know that's what's happening. So that's why you can't really congratulate Americans on making big scientific breakthroughs, because all they're essentially announcing is, look how much more wealth we're going to generate for ourselves while we withhold it from you. Like, that's basically what they're saying. So it's like, hooray, fusion, but we're never going to see that. And if we do, it'll only be, once we're working in the Elon Musk mines or something. That's just the fucking truth. Yeah, Matthias, you're right. Chappelle is a huge disappointment. Like, I think that it's been like watching a decline. Like, that's what it is. It's like watching this. He had this real spark up moment again with the Netflix specials that he did. But then as time kind of goes forward, he's just sort of, like he's just turned into just a rich, detached cocksucker, basically. And he doesn't really have anything interesting to say about the power structure that he lives in any longer, right? And he doesn't seem interested in doing that, right? Like, that's what made Carlin so good. That the focus of Carlin's commentary was always the rich, was always the powerful, right? That was always what he was focused on. And, like, who's Chappelle? Like, what's Chappelle talking about? Trans people, I guess, right? Like, and you can be like, you can make an argument for why that's okay, but like, it doesn't make him very, like, I feel like in 20 years we're gonna look back on Dave Chappelle talking about trans people and we're gonna be like, ooh yeah, ouch. I don't think that shit's gonna age very well, right? Like, I think at the time that it was said, it's one of those things where we're at the time, I think people found it valuable what he said, but as we go on, it's not going to age very well. And I think a lot of people are going to look back on Dave Chappelle's Netflix specials and his tiff with the trans community and be like, yeah, we all did think that way. Yeah, oh yeah, yep. I think there's going to be a lot of that going on. Metaphor Elon / Trump / Kanye, Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, but Dr. Manhattan wasn't like an overt bigot, Like, Dr. Manhattan's whole shtick was that he was just detached. Like, nothing really mattered to him. Even betrayal by his own partner didn't really matter to him, He was just disconnected and aloof. Whereas people like Elon, Trump, and Kanye, like, they're not disconnected. Like, they're detached from reality, but they're highly invested in the reality of their own creation. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that's a very strong metaphor. Yeah, Isaac said that the Chinese, they protest to protest their government. Get the government listens to them. Yeah, because protests are normal, right? Protests are normal. That's something I find really weird about the COVID protest moment in China, and people coming in here and trying to get me to say something about it. It's like, protests are normal. Like, it's extremely normal. Like, literally every society that has ever existed has some kind of protest movement. It's completely normal. And I really do think, like, if there were no protests in China, people would just be saying, well, the government doesn't let people have protests. And if there's protests in China, people go, oh God, there's protests in China. So you just can't win, right? You just can't win. People just want the people just want it to be a failure. People just want it to be weird or abstract or odd when it's fucking normal. It's just as normal as it gets. Hope you guys are doing all right out there in TikTok world. Don't forget to like the thing, hit the bells, hit the whistles, the diamonds, all that kind of stuff. Do your stuff, right? I hope you guys are doing really well out there. God rest you, Ronnie McNutt, wherever you are. Yeah, he actually did name his son that? Oh my god. Like, what do you even call him? Like, what is that even? Just call your son X? I don't know. So it's just like so cringy and embarrassing. Dr. Manhattan is currently in the chat. What? Who watches the Watchers? What? John, thoughts on flat earthers, just out of curiosity. Bro, if you want any sign whatsoever that people have abandoned institutions in America, like, it's the flat earth movement. That like it's as falsifiable as anything could be. It's so easy to falsify. We literally have pictures. Like we've got all the evidence in the world. Like not just philosophically, not just like mathematically and theoretically, right? Not through some kind of argument or some kind of thing, but literally a picture of the Earth in space. Like we've got it. Like, checkmate. You know? We've got satellites that are going around the Earth because the Earth is round, right? Like we've got overwhelming evidence that shows you that the Earth is round. But I just think that the betrayal, the institutional betrayal, is so heavy, that too is so overwhelming, right? So, and most of the evidence that we have comes out of some kind of institution, like NASA, right? Like NASA. So NASA creates this stuff. So NASA's a government institution, and then you have a bunch of people who have been abandoned by these institutions widely. And I think that there's just like a lot of people who understand that or who think correctly, in my view, that I don't need to listen to anything that these institutions say. And it's just manifesting in this very goofy kind of a way. Because they don't have any class consciousness. They don't have any like systemic analysis of their society, right? And that's not a dig. That's just the truth. And so it's manifesting in kind of goofy ways. And there's this like goofy little community that I think started as a joke. But now it's full of people who are actually arguing that that's the case. And then, then you end up with people on like Joe Rogan's podcast. Like one of Joe Rogan's friends, I forget his name, but like one of the people he rolls with started really arguing in favor of flat earther shit. And it's just embarrassing. Like, all of their points are so easy to falsify, are so easy to tip over, right? And I just think that they have gotten, it's the classic sort of American conspiracy brain. And the number one thing that drives conspiracy is the understanding that our institutions have betrayed us. Like, it's easy to fall into conspiracy when you have these massive multi-billion-dollar institutions that are obviously working against you. And so everything becomes conspiracy. Like, but in the case of the flat earthers, it's like, okay, but what's the game? Like, what's the checkmate? Like, what's the checkmate? Like, we're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars to try to convince everyone that the Earth is round instead of flat because, and there's never an answer for that. Like, if you want to have a conspiracy, like if you want to make a conspiracy like that, you got to be able to answer that question. Like, what's the motive? What's the gain? Who gains from it? And if you can't answer that question, then your conspiracy is probably wrong, or at least worthless, right? At least worthless. Because if nobody's gaining, then why are they doing it? You know, for fun, just to fuck around. Right? That seems to be the basic argument from the flat earthers. That just like, yeah, they're doing it just to get one over on us. Like, they need to fucking do, like, some big thing to get one over on you fucking dummy. Rusty Shackelford. Chappelle lives in my state, went to city council to stop affordable housing near his place. Guess he is a NIMBY kind of guy. Yeah. I saw something about that, Rusty. I don't know the full story though, so I don't want to condemn him along those lines. Like I feel like I feel like when you those sorts of situations, especially when they revolve around celebrities, are usually a bit more complex, and I just don't care to delve into it because I don't think it really fucking matters that much. Like at the end of the day, Chappelle's not the most important person in the room, not by a long shot, right? No, 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 not comfortable there, buddy. Not comfortable. You want to go over there? Okay. Paxu, how you doing, bud? Paxu Pa Pete. I'm mispronouncing the pa, of course, because I don't know how to pronounce that. But do you like EU? I mean, I think that it is better that the EU exists than it does not. I think that that's where I'll land on that. That it is better for us to live in a world where the EU exists than live in a world where the EU does not exist. And that's for a very simple reason, that the European nations go to war with one another fairly regularly before the EU, right? That before World War II and the catastrophe of World War II, which is a capitalist catastrophe, Europe was constantly at war with itself, right? Like they're so dedicated to war with one another that they experienced an overwhelming tragedy in World War I, where they industrialized warfare and committed a mass murder against one another through technological warfare that literally their generals were writing in documents, just keep sending men at the Gatling gun. It can't possibly kill all of them. Yeah, it can. Fucking yeah, it can. Right? You're talking about like the invention of trench warfare, the invention of barbed wire, the invention of rifles that shoot straight, repeating rifles, aerial bombardment, mustard gas. Like you're talking about literally creating hell for people to go through, and they loved it so much they did it again. Right? Like that's pre-EU Europe. That Europe has an enormous history of going to war with itself. And I think it's pretty likely that this brief window, this brief period where the EU hasn't gone to war with itself, with the exception of places like Yugoslavia, obviously, and exerts its will and dominance on places like Libya and all of this. But I think that window is going to close, and the contradictions of capital will once again overwhelm Europe, and Europe will fall back into war with itself. I think that that's pretty likely, because and you can see the reality of that manifesting in places like Greece, right? Like Greece becomes like kind of an economic backwater for various reasons, and the way the system of capital works is that wealth concentrates more and more under the hands of fewer and fewer people. And eventually, that's going to create beggar states. It's just going to create states that have no wealth and are living in impoverished situations, and they're not going to tolerate it, right? So the inherent contradictions of capital will break the EU apart, and Europe will fall back into war with itself. I think that that's pretty likely, and and I hate to break it to everybody, that's normal for EU. That's normal for Europe. Like Europe is usually at war with itself. Right? If you take a look at the history of Europe, it's mainly European nations fighting each other, right? And then as they enter the colonial period, they fight each other just through proxy war. And I don't think that the EU is like, especially as the American power begins to recede, right? America's going to have to start picking where it wants to actually be in the world and actually put its resources. And you already have the Republicans side of the conversation saying we should leave NATO, like we should get out of there and let the Europeans defend themselves, which I widely think is a bad choice because we all know what's going to happen. That literally the first thing that's going to happen is the European nations will fight each other. Like I think that's really, really likely to happen. Elon says his son name is pronounced Ash. All right. Hear me out about Elon. What if he's flunking this bad to expose how corrupt the rich are and isn't paying any of the bills for Twitter? Travis, dude, that's some like 4D chess. I think it's far more likely that Elon Musk just doesn't really actually have a horse in the race. Like, it doesn't actually matter to him. Like, this is all just a toy as far as he's concerned, right? Like once you have more money than $1 billion, everything you do is just for your own amusement. And that's all you're seeing with Elon Musk. Like, he doesn't have a vision. He doesn't have ideas. His vision and his ideas are the vision and ideas of a 6-year-old boy, right? Like he doesn't actually have anything intelligent or interesting to say. I constantly make the argument on this platform that Elon Musk is actually sub-intelligent. He's below average intelligence. Like, if you go and you listen to his podcast that he had with Joe Rogan, and just get over the fact that Joe Rogan is sucking his cock the whole time. Like, just get over the fact that, oh, it's Elon, oh my God, right? And you just say, okay, here's a man. Let's listen to what this man has to say. It takes maybe about 15 minutes for you to start being like, this guy's pretty dumb. Like, this guy's pretty dumb. And if you listen to the whole thing, I just don't think you can walk away from it being like, wow, what a super intelligent genius, man. I just think that you're, like, mainly listening to a 12-year-old. Like, I really think his entire ethos and the way he thinks about the world is like the way a 12-year-old would. And I'm just like, and what do you expect? Like, he never really grew up, right? Like, he's handed millions of dollars, like literally goes around buying other people's inventions, calls himself, like, his entire life is fake, right? Like, that's the thing that I think people don't really understand about Elon Musk, and they don't understand what it is to live that kind of a life where, like, literally he pays to be called an inventor. He's never invented anything, right? So he's cosplaying. So his whole life is just a cosplay of intelligence, right? And he pays to be on the front page of something, and he pays to be called the real life Tony Stark, and he pays to be in all these things. So his whole life is just a fabrication, right? And you don't need to be super genius to do this. In fact, I think you have to be pretty stupid to do something like this, where you fabricate a life. So instead of living a life, Elon Musk just fabricated one. And it's sad and it's stupid. And I think it culminates in its totality in the purchase of Twitter. That instead of spending $44 billion to actually address serious problems and actually say, like, hey, there's real things happening in the world. There's serious shit going on that I could participate in and I could do something about. Instead of that, you're just going to fucking buy Twitter. Like, it's just who this guy is. Like, he's just a dumb idiot who shows everybody why capitalism is a failed system, right? Because instead of actually using the resources that we have access to solve problems, instead of actually attempting to solve those problems, we just give it all to some idiot who goes and buys a company that was already working and destroys it. Like, that's what we're looking at. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to think that this person is supposed to be at the top of some sort of hierarchical meritocracy. Like, if this is the top of the hierarchy, then the hierarchy needs to be dismantled. Like, swiftly. Faster, please. Oh, I Need Yetis retracting a lot of shit. Wow, I Need Yetis. Did you just go on like a weird little rant, bud? Yeah. Yeah, flat earthers are just trolling. I put it with Bigfoot. Some of those Bigfoot people are pretty convinced. Some of those Bigfoot people are pretty fucking convinced. This thing keeps blinking in and out, and I'm going to try to resolve that for you guys on TikTok, because I think that that's annoying. I wouldn't want fucking my face to be... And who doesn't want to pay more attention to this beautiful mug, right? Don't you think? Don't you think? This beautiful face? Everybody... I love it. Every time I take a look at TikTok, it's just the dumbest shit. Capitalism has failed worse. Communism has been successful. Literally, the strongest economy on the planet right now is run by a communist party. Like, I guess if you don't pay attention, you can say what you like. Yeah. Lunar eclipse shows Earth to be roundish. Yeah, my man's calling flat earthers NPCs. No, I don't think flat earthers are NPCs. I just think they're fucking... Like, I just think that they're done with being told how things work by institutions that are abandoning them. Oh my god. Okay, maybe if I adjust this, maybe it's because I'm giving up my side profile. You guys need, like, I'm doing that, and that blinks it out. I don't know how this thing fucking works. It's stupid. From Vincent Thomas, serious question on Xinjiang. Now that the EU, Arab nations, and U.S. State Department have all said they can't prove genocide of minorities, why do so many socialists still buy the narrative? Because I think people, honestly, Vincent, I think most people make take their position based on what the majority position is or what they perceive the majority position to be. I don't think most people look at the evidence, figure out what the evidence is, and make a decision based on that evidence to what they believe is correct, based on principles that they hold. I don't think most people operate that way. I think most people are just looking, what's the majority opinion? That's my opinion. And if you step outside of the majority opinion, hello, how you doing? Hi. Then you are confronted with that fairly regularly. That the people who are on the inside don't actually care about the evidence or the facts or the truth or any of that. They don't. None of that really matters, right? All that matters is that your neighbors are saying it. And it's for a very clear and obvious reason, right? No one wants to be excluded. No one wants to be expelled from the society, right? And you can see this almost on the day-to-day now, where if billionaires put something on a billboard or blast something into the society through advertising and take over the airwaves and all this, that becomes the truth very quickly. Because the society defers to power with a very simple statement about, well, there's got to be some truth to it, right? They wouldn't be able to have a billboard and take over a whole street and have giant advertising campaigns if it was a total fabrication and a complete lie. That the editorial boards of newspapers wouldn't publish it if it was a complete and total lie. There has to be something to it, right? So there's that, and then I think there's just the basic reality that, like, you imagine two people looking at a billboard that says blue is red, right? And a person won't go, that's bullshit, because if they say that's bullshit, for all they know, the guy they're standing beside is going to go, what are you talking about? Blue is red. What are you, a blue? You're blah, blah. And suddenly they're in a fucking argument. And so instead of that, they go, what do you think of that, eh? That's a bit weird, don't you think? Huh? What do you think? All right? Right? And then the other guy is thinking the same thing. He's like, well, I can't take a strong position on this because I don't know what this guy thinks. Right? So you just end up with two people who know it's bullshit, looking at one another, agreeing that it's true. Because they don't want to offend each other, or they don't want to be on the outside of each other. Right? And it's not until you're in your little camp, and you're in your little tribe, and you're sure of what your tribe thinks, that you can confront other tribes. So Republican versus Democrat is a real clear example of that. Right? Where it doesn't really matter what's real, doesn't matter what the truth is, just matters what your side says. And so in regards to, like, the Xinjiang thing, yeah, like, it's total bullshit. Everybody knows it's bullshit, but are they willing to acknowledge it? Who's willing to put their head up and risk getting it chopped off? Right? People like me, basically. Flat Earthers, like, from Travis, flat Earthers like being in a simulation conspiracy. I think the Matrix is just a metaphor about capitalism and how it keeps us trapped in. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. The creators of the Matrix have been very explicit about what the Matrix was about to them, which was, it was about being trans. Because one of the Wachowski siblings goes through a transition. They take the money from the original Matrix movie and they go through a transition. With that money. And they've been very explicit in interviews and in conversations that that's what the Matrix is about to them. It's telling, though, that the transition, like, idea and the transition metaphor appeals to other people for other reasons. Like, that's more or less what I thought when I saw the Matrix, right? The way you were thinking, Travis, right? It's a metaphor about capitalism, how it keeps us trapped in, right? The falseness of our reality, the lies and the myths that we all knowingly maintain just to sort of have some kind of idea of stability. Yeah, Ligon disease said that they now, in regards to the EU, they now export their violence now. I don't know if I call that better, but they were doing that as well anyway. Ligon disease, right? That's what they were doing anyway. So, what does sharp knife mean in Latvian language? An odd question, dude. I have no idea. Yeah. Travis, I'm not a super fan of Elon, but I'd love to take his job. Yeah. I gotta tell you, man, the thing that makes me judge these billionaires more than anything, if I had the kind of money they had, all I would spend my time doing is handing it out. That's all I'd do. I would just walk around. Literally, I would walk around the streets with a basket of money and just hand it out. And if somebody came up with a gun and was like, "Give me the basket," I'd be like, "Here you go." I wouldn't fight them. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't charge them. I wouldn't. I would just be like literally handing out like a wad of thousands and just be like, "Here you are. Here you are. Here you are." It's what I would spend my entire day doing. It's what I would spend everything doing. And the idea that billionaires are not doing that, to me, is a total indictment. Like, give your money away. Like, it seems to me like there's no other reason. There's no other, like, that was the entire justification of us giving them the money in the first place, is that they were going to turn around and spend it. It was all going to trickle down, right? And it didn't happen, right? And these guys are sitting here being like, "I don't know what to spend my money on." Literally hand it out. Literally hand it out, right? "Well, you're not going to stay rich for too long." Yeah, well, that's fine. Like, I don't know why that matters to you, right? Like for real, I got a great one right here. What is it? Billionaires are so weird. What are you saving up for? Hell? Like, yeah. What are you saving up for? You understand that we all die, right? You understand that you don't get that money, and it doesn't, like, God isn't going to count the money and be like, "Oh, well, $1.5 billion, good job," right? You're not going to die and have like a score screen at the end where it's like Chivo, like you're not going to get like your achievement, right? Commies love a handout. Yeah, bud. I don't understand why that ever became a bad thing. Why is helping people bad? Can you explain that to me? Right? Why is helping people bad? Why am I supposed to be convinced that helping other people is a bad thing to do? Like, it just seems to me absolutely barbaric to think that people should suffer and die. Like, maybe things should be easier. Who knew? Like, maybe we should expect and insist that our institutions actually do something for us, right? What a wild and crazy thought. Holy shit, an institution that actually does something that helps us? Whoa. We're just so fucking brainwashed into the idea that, like, no, we are supposed to subserviate ourselves, and that is our lot in life. Like, what are you talking about? What an embarrassing position. Like, you genuinely think that you're here to work on behalf of, like, pedophiles who literally go to, like, Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island and then be abandoned by them? Like, that's literally what you think you're here to do? It's embarrassing. Paxu, what European nations do you like? It's not about liking or disliking, dude. It's like, they all have a history, but like, the truth is that the European nations go to war with each other all the time, right? I wish they'd stop that. So it's simple as that. So I don't really take preference, you know? They are as they are. And, I mean, like, some of them have, in the recent history, produced some really negative outcomes. And I worry that they might do that again. Right? We literally have a fascist leading Italy right now. Someone who praises Mussolini, you know? I'm not a big fan of that. Travis says, what was his goal, was his exposure? He swung a big dick at Apple, called out their tax when they went radio silent. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Anyone with $1 billion is your class enemy, for sure, for sure. So they're basically doing a believe all women approach with this Uyghur genocide narrative. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't think the Uyghur genocide thing is going to last too much longer, because, like, honestly, it comes down to, like, yeah, I'm sure that Americans who, like, are completely fine with committing mass genocides and going to war completely against Muslims all across the Middle East, right? Literally invading Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Ethiopia, right? Like, just absolutely trying to purge and cleanse the world of Muslims are really serious in their concern about what's going on with Muslims in China. Like I'm really sure. Like it just seems a bit disingenuous. Like even if it was real, even if it was actually real, even if the Uyghur genocide was actually real and was actually happening in China, I would still be like, it seems a bit disingenuous, America. You know, if you're so concerned about the plight of Muslims, how about you get concerned about the plight of Muslims in the countries you invade and destroy? Like, why aren't you concerned about Muslims in Afghanistan or Iraq or Somalia or Ethiopia? Like, why are you only concerned about Muslims in a nation you obviously want to destroy and balkanize? Like, yeah, I love when someone calls me a CCP bot and then Google deletes their post. Welcome to capitalism. Santora E. Britannia, how you doing? Late here, glad your stuff's regular. I can listen at work. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Santora. I try to stream Monday through Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m. And if you miss it, you can always just listen to it again on YouTube. So we got that. And I got more than one person telling me that they listen at work, which I find that to be delightful. People go on to work for capitalists listening to a communist in their ear. I think that's quite delightful. Fuck your bosses. Yeah, dude, I'd love to just give people money. Are you kidding me? I would love that. I would if the sort of paradox of it though is that the type of person who amasses the kind of wealth required to go around and hand it out is exactly the person who wouldn't, right? Like you don't become a billionaire by handing money out. But I don't know. I just if suddenly I became a billionaire, if suddenly there was like I don't know something happened and I just got $1 billion for whatever reason, I literally would just start handing it out. I would just be like I would put enough aside to ensure that like I had a house and like everything was stable and that was fine, right? And then I would just start being like, here you go, bud. Here you go, bud. Here you go, bud. I would like walk down the streets. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't know why anybody wouldn't. Like that's the part of it that really baffles me. Why wouldn't somebody want to do that? Think about how fun it would be. Think about how amazing it would be to just walk up to random people and be like, "Hey, you want $1,000?" And they'd be like, and you'd be like, "Here." Like, see how people react. See what happens. I bet you'd have a lot of really fucking happy people. They say, of course, it's rich people who says money can't buy happiness because they want you to focus on something else. Boss just texted me, you know you were scheduled this morning, right? I've had debilitating RSV and have been calling out daily for almost a week. Oh, but today I'm on a fucking vacation. Yeah, exactly, Vincent. Nah, I mean, like, I'm a touch sympathetic to the position that the bosses themselves are in. Like, they're just as trapped, but a lot of them just get really shitty and get really, like, up their own ass about it. Yeah, we need a UBI. I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I could go into that. I won't bother. Reagan sold his soul and ruined America. I mean, yeah. Like, yeah. Yeah, they are paid to do that to you. Make you feel small, weak, and useless. Don't let them. Yeah. Oh, Victor, you can take the Ronnie McNutt stuff somewhere else, bud. I appreciate you, though, bud. I hope you're doing well in the world. Yeah, help bad because it make people lazy, and we should let everyone suffer and die because the suffering appeases the universe. Yeah, exactly. Because we know the desires of the universe, right? Like it's interesting how it's always rich people who are like, we know what the universe wants. Yeah, sure, bud. Oh yeah, the Valencia shit. I only just recently heard about this Valencia stuff where it's there's like and I don't know enough about it, but it is like there's a pedophilia thing going on. Like come on guys, like the Jeffrey Epstein scandal is real. The Jeffrey Epstein scandal exists in a way that is revealing undeniably. It's just undeniable that extremely rich, wealthy, powerful people, including people like Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, right? Steven Pinker, right? All were at the very least visiting a known sex trafficker pedophile's island where he kept little girls. Like, we know that that's true. And I think the damning part about it is that they murdered Jeffrey Epstein, right? And it's, if you're still trying to convince anybody that was a suicide, then you're just an embarrassing person. The murder of Jeffrey Epstein was very illuminating. But then when they actually put Ghislaine Maxwell on trial, they outright told us that we've got documents of lists of who her clients are, but we're not going to show you. So what is that? Like, what is that if not the institutions of America obviously protecting the powerful and protecting the rich to ensure that the American populace doesn't understand the depths of this depravity? And it's really fascinating to me that we're getting bombarded with right wings. Like, it's the right wingers that are trying to convince us, oh, it's the trans people, they're grooming. Like, dude, like, literally the Jeffrey Epstein scandal exists, and we know it. And you're just trying to deflect away from that and pretend like, yeah, the problem absolutely is just poor trans people, right? That's absolutely the problem, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, we need to lay down arms and stop fighting. Why do we need all this suffering? Yeah, climate change is real. We need to eat the rich. Absolutely. Do you not see he has his chat scrolled up on stream? Yeah, average TikTok kitty intellect. Yeah. No, don't worry about that, guys. If guys come in here with that Ronnie McNutt stuff, don't even bother engaging them. Like, I'll just get them because I'm not going to engage with those people. Travis, I'll answer this because you seem to be a cool guy. What's the Ronnie thing? So literally the day I started streaming on TikTok, a fellow by the name of Ronnie McNutt, a war veteran, committed suicide. He committed suicide because his girl, well, I think the impetus of it, or the straw that broke the camel's back, is that his girlfriend breaks up with him. And and so he commits suicide on stream. And the stream gets disseminated through Facebook. It didn't censor it. It didn't block it. It didn't do any of that. It literally made it go viral. And so this guy, Ronnie McNutt, has become kind of legendary in a way. And because he also has beard and glasses, like he also had a beard, he also has glasses. I look like him in that I have a beard and glasses. So if you're a 14-year-old, you don't really care to notice a difference. And and so I think people are coming into the TikTok stream especially, and just posting a lot of Ronnie McNutt stuff, and it's just phrases like mind-blowing information. I don't remember the exact phrase, but there's the last thing he said I think was something like, "Well, that's it," and so people will say that, and then there's the flower emoji, all that kind of stuff. And at first I was pretty offended by it because, like, the man committed suicide. But more and more I've come to see that what we are seeing is a society that's grieving with itself. And it doesn't know how to. And so you're just seeing, like, people who don't know how to deal with their emotions. And I think that's more or less what it is. And I'm fine if that happens on TikTok. Like, that's how it is. It puts more traffic on TikTok as far as I'm concerned, which, by the way, hi TikTok, like, share, hit the button, do all the stuff. If you want to actually have a conversation, you can come to YouTube. Yeah, so I don't, yeah, it is confusing, Travis. It's absurd that the society is descending into absurdism. That's what it is. And the Ronnie McNutt situation is an absurdist situation. That's all it is. And it's just people who know they've been abandoned by their society. They know they've been abandoned by the institutions. They know that it's happening, just dealing with their own emotional position. Maybe I am explaining it really bad. That's fine, Travis. I don't actually, like, care that much. I'm trying to do it for your benefit, but that's fine. We can just move on. JC, how you doing, bud? Hope you're here to be beautiful. I've been listening to you for a while. I think you have very little knowledge of the European nations. We don't want to fight each other. I think all of European history says otherwise, dude. Like, all of it. like, bud. Sorry. The European nations don't want to fight each other, except World War II, World War I, and all the other wars that happened before that. Like, yeah, the European nations are constantly at war with one another, bud. Like this moment, this very brief post World War II moment where the European nations have not fought each other openly, it is the exception, not the rule. And your statement of the USA shadow government is the ones that keep causing it, like, nah, dude. The Europeans have been fighting each other since before the United States even existed. Georgia Maloney isn't fascist, bro. Like, she literally praises Mussolini. Like she literally says that Mussolini, she's of a party that is fascist. Like, bro. We don't need to take what you say very seriously anymore, bud. Like, that's like a hard stop. She's been exposing France for their involvement with their ex-colonies. Yeah, I mean, that's also probably true. Like, France also has their colonies, right? The reason why the European public keeps voting in center-right leaders is due to USA wokeness. Always got to blame the woke, right? Always got to blame the woke crowd, right? Like, certainly doesn't have anything to do with the deteriorating material conditions combined with the destruction of leftist movements, right? That definitely doesn't play whatsoever. Nope, it's people with purple hair. That's what's doing it. Yeah, the 30 Years' War, the 100 Years' War. Like, come on. Yeah. Holocaust all caused by Europeans, yeah. The EU is the only thing keeping football riots from becoming World War III. That's so funny, Vincent. It's probably true, too. It's just like just all the soccer hooligans, just all the fucking soccer hooligans coming together and just starting World War III with one another because they're like, fucking Manchester United! From Travis, the Republican playbook is what I call the 4Ds: dehumanize, distract, divide, defeat. Truth will set us free. Us wokeness. I mean, I find the whole woke narrative to be annoying. Like, the whole stay woke thing. Like, woke people were civil rights activists. Like, people like Martin Luther King, like black civil rights activists, is like the original woke crowd. And the term and the movement, more or less, gets co-opted by, suburban white people who then use it for LGBTQ issues and all of this. And what it's done, like what this whole thing has done, is it's allowed far-right elements in the society to use the word woke instead of black. That if you listen to speeches that are being given by people like Ron DeSantis, and every time he says the word woke, you just replace it with the word black, it's basically the same thing. So it's just turned into a dog whistle, and I'm very, very skeptical of people who come in here and using the word woke. Very, very skeptical of it. Owens, hope you're here to be beautiful, bud. Why don't you think people should actually work for their money? That's a misunderstanding of what's being said, Owens. That the claim isn't people shouldn't work for their money. The claim is that the people who do the work should be the ones that receive the money. That the way the system is actually structured is that the capitalists don't actually work, right? Like people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, these people, they don't actually work, right? Like they extract wealth from the people who are actually doing the work. So when you say, why don't you think people should actually work for their money? I just don't think you know what you're talking about. That I'm saying that the people who do the work should be the ones that get the money. That's literally what I'm saying. Derpy Duck. Love this name. As someone whose parents grew up in a communist country, wappa wappa wappa, my Nazi grandfather, I would hate to live under a communist government. Every person whose parents grew up, literally the polling data says that you're wrong, Derpy Duck. That anytime any of the Eastern European nations are polled, and the question is, which did you prefer, communism or capitalism? The majority come back saying we would like to go under a communist nation again, right? And I'm absolutely sure that your parents were absolutely not involved in far right activity. Absolutely. We're 100% sure on that. Yeah, billionaires don't work for their money, dude. Yeah, absolutely. No, no, Travis, I wasn't saying that to accuse you, and I assume that you were saying it very in a positive sort of way. I just feel like the term has become co-opted by far right people, and they're using it as a way to say the word black without saying the word black. Like it's and it's really like once I like from now on, whenever you hear it, like whenever you hear people like Tucker Carlson or Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump talking about wokeness or talking about woke, you'll hear it now. Yeah, it's because it's obvious, right? Just replace the word woke with the word black, and that's just what it is, right? That these people are interested in subserviating the black community as they have throughout the entire existence of American history. Modern liberal wokeness is a thing that's causing issues in Europe. You're talking about wars that happened hundreds of years ago. Please don't say something stupid. Haha, we Europeans hate our leaders. Yeah, like, bro, like this argument, like, oh, that happened hundreds of years ago, right? Like, it's interesting how like if you don't know your history and if you don't know the history of the place that you're in, then you're not going to understand like that you're caught in a loop. And that things are just going to keep happening over and over again, right? So, it's just, like, Europe is a very, like, the Europeans are very warlike people. Like, they really are. The history of Europe is one that's just in constant and perpetual warfare. And the Europeans, even post-World War II, like you still have the colonies, you still have all of this kind of stuff. It's just overseen by the Americans now. And that the Americans have such an overwhelming amount of power in the European nations that the Europeans don't dare try to fight against them militarily, right? Who's the communist nation we should follow by example? I mean, China's the strongest economy in the world right now, dude. Like literally, like the Belt and Road Initiative, the BRICS organization, right? Like China is lifting millions of people out of poverty. Like we should absolutely be paying attention to China, without a doubt. Like it's and it's overwhelmingly the truth that the successes that we're seeing are in China and places like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, right, are because of their following of Marxist ideas and Marxist principles, right? Like, and to me, it's obvious, bud. Derpy Duck, my parents were farmers before they came to America, and they barely had food on the table in Poland. Oh, yeah, Poland. Dude, what happened in Poland? Like, I'll say this over and over and over again about Poland. Like, Poland got ripped apart because of a war between two gigantic powers, right? And you should probably be pointing the finger at the person who started the war and the force that was the aggressor in that